Hey all, this is Salamander,
And this is Criff.
and this is the State of the Mist podcast. This week we're going to be going over the upcoming balance patch that's going to roll out on October 4th. There have been some changes that seem like it's shaking up the community, so we'll touch on a lot of that.
Yeah, there was a big stream on Friday on the 16th, and we're just going to kind of go over our impressions of that and what we think it'll actually do to World vs. World builds.
Yeah, I think this is maybe going to shake up the meta a little bit, just a little bit. What do you think, Griff?
I'm seeing some stuff that is definitely going to change things a bit. Not to say it's totally going to break the meta, but it is going to open up some options and adjust some specific classes' gameplay quite a bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. What are some of the big or small things that you've seen out of all the changes that are coming up?
I mean, the biggest is probably the change to Firebrand. That was expected. There was the nerf on Firebrand.
Oh yeah, the reduction of charges for the elite mantra, right?
Right. That less baby stab, as they call it, will be a big impact.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think it was an increase on uh the cooldown too. Um that's gonna hurt a lot, especially because Firebrand is the biggest provider of stability and damage mitigation in the game. So if you have to switch from something that's heavily relied upon, you nerf it, we might see more nerfs in the future. Uh, that's definitely going to open up some spaces for other support roles. But then, that brings in the question, what's the substitute or alternative to that? And yeah.
Right, and they had kind of teased that they were going to do this in a previous patch, and then people freaked out and they canceled it. But
Yeah.
that was mostly due to no other options. There were no other options in any other class to replace that stun break. So that's a lot of what this patch is kind of bringing those pieces together so we still have some stun break.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like maybe ANET's going in a direction where they don't want the Firebrand to provide, what is it, like 45 seconds of constant stability. You want to have some gaps in between where uh, the opponent group or your group is like low on stability, opens up more. Like you really have to think on your toes a lot more. You can't rely on the damage mitigation and stability from Guardians.
Yeah, a good Guardian at this point with 3 group stun breaks is really able to ignore a lot of the stuns in the CC that another group can put out. So that's really going to actually they say we're in a CC meta. You hear that a lot. That the main thing in this meta is just being able to stun and crowd control your enemies. And this is going to increase the power of that in one way because the Firebrand can negate it, but it will spread that load to some other classes so other classes can also break those stuns. So it should be interesting to see what it does.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be nice to see Firebrands having to well, Firebrands already put in a lot of work, as well as the scrappers. You look to your Firebrands and scrappers for like the support. You can't move. You're covered in condies. Those are the two main classes that you normally look towards. And when you do play those classes, talking about Firebrand right now, when you're playing these classes, you're going to have to really think of when is the right time to uh, use my stability, use my stun breaks. Did they use their CC skills already? How many CCs are they running? You're going to have to learn your opponent's comp, learn like how quickly do they throw out their CCs? How quickly do they throw out their big bombs and things like that?
Big time, yeah. Well, let's jump in it. We don't want to make it as long as the stream that ANET did. So
Yeah, definitely not.
yeah, we can just go down the order they did and start with Warrior then.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd say overall Warrior got a buff. It's good. Really, no nerfs on that side. It's all positive stuff up for the Warriors. So you guys can celebrate.
Yeah, definitely good, especially for power warriors. The increase in DPS to a lot of the hammer skills, and I think it's Earth Shaker should really Earth shake things up a bit. I should not have said that.
Boom, boom. Yeah, no, I like that. That was kind of a large change that was made a while back where they took away all damage from all CC skills. And this is a bit of a reversal on that, where the hammer stuns do put out some damage, and that's something I think a lot of warriors missed.
Yeah. And what do you think of the change to shake it off? Because initially I thought of it as a pretty big nerf. Because if you're running with, let's say, a party that's short on cleanses, and you throw uh, a shout spellbreaker in there. So shake it off whenever I play shout spellbreaker is my go-to. Well, one of my go-tos with Condi cleanses and sunbreaks. And it was nice to be able to cleanse off like 10 conditions within a few seconds. Um, they are taking away one of the charges, so it's going to be, one skill, but they're reducing the cooldown from 70 seconds to 30 seconds. So it does spread it out a little bit. You won't have the immediate spike in Condi clears, but it's nice to have that spread.
Yeah, and I mean they did take away a charge where it's now 2 charges and bringing it down, but it also, I mean, the big change is that it's an area of effect stun break. That's huge. That's replacing that area of effect stun break that the Guardian has. So now the warrior, when they're doing their shake it off shout, can stun break not just himself but all 5 people in their party. So that's going to be almost a every single warrior needs to have it type skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that move a lot. It fits right in with the current kind of support warrior hammer warrior build really well.
Yeah, and
And
if a hammer warrior does happen to run DPS with the buffs in the DPS, you can still bring the shake it off for additional stun breaks.
yeah, just without doing much to change your gameplay. If you're stun breaking yourself, you're stun breaking everybody. So that's a really nice one. And what I didn't really see mentioned, but I'm assuming it's the case, is Warrior has a passive Shake It Off that triggers, and I think that will also be an AoE stun break, so they'll technically have even more of that. Yes, so I mean, Warrior's been kind of in decline in World vs. World. Like, you don't see as many Spellbreakers due to the nerf on the Warrior bubble, the Winds of Disenchantment, a while back. So I think this is going to hopefully bring their place back into the meta a bit more solidly, and we'll see a few more running around.
Yeah, that'll be nice to see because Winds of Disenchantment is still nice to have, and stacking them or spreading them out is one of my preferred ways of running them. So just having this as an incentive for more people to bring a bubble warrior is just, I don't know, I see that as a definite plus.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Might even see more banners on the Spellbreakers. I don't know.
Oh yeah, probably.
The other one that Warrior got is a bit of a change on Berserker, which the main thing seems to be that they're trying to just make it easier to get into that Berserker mode. It's a quicker instant activation, and they split it into different skills, so it's you still have access to your burst even if you're not in Berserker mode. So it kind of gives you options.
Okay, that's good. Makes it a lot more fluid and easier to access.
Yeah, you're able to instantly burst instead of having to go into Berserker mode and then press another skill to burst slowly.
Yeah.
So, yes, overall Warrior looking good. I think that's really the main ones. There were some little adjustments here and there with some of the traits and whatnot, but That's the main stuff I think is going to actually impact the stuff that we see in Warlord Sword groups.
Yeah. And I think next was the Scrapper, the one of the other big things that's shaking up the Reddit community.
Yeah, this is the one I'm seeing the most grief about, I think.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people aren't happy that their scrappers are being touched. It's funny. I actually just learned how to play scrapper, in Zergs recently. I've understood the mechanics of scrappers, but I've never actually brought it to Zergs very often. I think maybe once during the new NA runs, but whenever I played support, it would always be Firebrand. And I finally learned Scrapper, and now it's getting a huge nerf, so gonna have to relearn it.
Yeah, that's bad timing there.
Yeah,
I was really trying to get a scrapper training in for the guild, but now that all these big changes are coming, I'm just gonna hold off until everything's in place because it is pretty big.
yeah, it's gonna change the playstyle of Scrapper probably entirely. But for those who maybe didn't listen to the or watch the ANET stream, gyros are technically wells, and they want them to be ground targeted as well as the defense field, which is if you ever hear like um someone call out defense fields or engineer stabs, then that's the bubble that goes around the engineer. That's I believe the NGF4 or F3. Um, I think it's depends on where it's placed on your utility bar.
Yeah, that's pretty big. The play for NGs has kind of been pretty, let's be honest, pretty easy with the gyros. You just press them and they just follow you around and you don't really have to do anything else.
Yeah,
And
that's one thing I liked about learning it. I was like, oh, I could press what was it? Purge gyro and walk around the group. And if we're pushing in a melee and getting covered in condies, then the purge gyro just pulses it off. I thought it was amazing, but that's not going to happen anymore. You're going to have to throw it on the ground and hope, um, you know, throw it on the ground in the direction of where you're moving in. Yeah.
yeah, it is going to require a little more thought, a little more planning, and not just walking around and getting passive bonuses, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of how people saw the change to the Winds of Disenchantment, the warrior bubble, when you initially used it and you'd be able to walk around with it on you. So you'd carry around this um, boon stripping bubble with your warrior, and you'd be able to follow enemy groups around for a few seconds. And yeah, that definitely did hurt a lot.
Yeah, and the way this is being implemented, I think, is probably heavy-handed, and most of the people that are upset about it are PvEers, because from what I'm seeing, that gyro change is gonna be everywhere. So that's something that people are not happy about because their PvE scrapper build with their gyros that they can just play around with and kill mobs. Not so much anymore. They're going to have to think a little bit more and play stuff instead of just running around passively.
Yeah,
And one of the things that might be impacted there is I mean, I guess the stab coverage with the defense field, since that's ground placed, because that was another one that's easy to run with you.
yeah.
I don't know if they're counting defense field as a well, and that's why it's happening, or if it's just a separate nerf. But
Maybe they want to see it kind of used similar to hollowed ground. Uh, you place it on the ground, walk towards it, or place it where you think the commander is going to be heading to.
yeah, because it is a block as well as the stability, and they
Y-
increase the cooldown on it as well.
Yeah. The they increase the cooldown on fumigate too, which is another huge hit to cleanses. And a good scrapper is usually top of the cleanses in most groups.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's not going to be nice for the people that love playing Scrapper because it feels less powerful, but I think that's kind of the point. The Scrapper has just been, aside from the Firebrand, the indispensable, you always have to have one in every party or your group is crippled and you're not as good as the other team. Just because of the excessive Condi removal,
Yeah.
plus the super speed, plus the stealth. So yeah, I think bringing that down, I mean, it was needed. It was definitely needed. The nerf to Condi clears alone, I think was good. The gyro nerf, I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. It's not just a nerf to the Condi clears on it. It's changing how
The
the
class is
Scrapper
played.
plays.
Hmm.
And yeah, the stealth, that mechanic change is gonna change how every fight happens.
Oh, are they changing the
Uh,
stealth?
yeah, because that elite
Oh,
is a
yeah.
gyro as well. Yeah,
That's right. No more stealth on the run. Wow.
right,
Okay.
right. So recently, you see kind of a change where some groups are maybe initially stealthing with their Mesmer, and then they'll save their Scrapper stealth for later in the fight or for a getaway.
Okay.
And now that's not going to be an option. There will be no stealthing midway through fight. You'll actually have to stack and stealth in one spot, which is makes you vulnerable.
Oh man. Yeah, that's definitely going to be rough. I'm curious to see uh how that's going to unfold once the patch rolls out. Um yeah, what do you think the alternatives will be once the patch does roll out, and let's assume that you have way better alternatives and cleanses with something like Aura Share, Shout, Tempest, for example.
I think it's going to bring up Tempest a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tempest will be able to perform as well, if not better, than the Scrapper on some of that healing support. And maybe some of the other classes that are brought up in this patch, we'll see. That's kind of up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, and Elementalists, since we're talking about Tempest, will get group stun break, I believe, through Eye of the Storm, right?
Yeah, they've had it. It's even more buffed now with a bigger range, so
Okay.
it'll be more viable.
Yeah. That'll definitely be good. I know there was a change to Gale Song, but getting auras from overloads, I think that's still the better choice in terms of the traits.
Yeah, and a little more nerf on the Scrapper in terms of boon rip. There's some stuff some people were using on damage Scrapper with throw mine that's kind of not as much of a boon rip. Same thing with minefield. But yeah, that gyro change is definitely the big one that we'll have to see groups adapting to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be okay, Scrappers. I promise. You'll still have a place.
Yeah, we're not gonna cut you out. I love my scrappers.
I don't think this will actually push out any classes from the meta. It'll just kind of open options for a third support.
Yeah,
That's my theory, but
like if you happen to main a certain class, let's go back to Elementalist, for example, then and you do want to play a support role, then switching to a Tempest, playing a support Tempest will be an easier transition than having to make a Firebrand or Scrapper. So, yeah.
yeah, I think that's most of the relevant stuff for Scrapper. And after that, we got the Revenant.
Yes, the second dodge for the Revenant. I've played that Revenant for about 5 minutes during the beta test, and it was fun. But I wasn't a big fan of the single dodge. What do you think, Griff?
I am not a Vindicator enjoyer. I I unlocked it yesterday just to figure out what the deal was with the dodges. And yeah, if anybody hasn't touched it right now in its current state, Vindicator is weird. You only get one dodge. You go up in the air for a crazy long amount of time and then come down and do damage. So it just kind of takes you out of the fight for what feels like 5 seconds, and you're just floating in the air doing nothing, which doesn't really do a lot for your group and is not really playing with others very well, I guess.
Yeah, cutting that time in half, well, I'm assuming it's going to be half time in the air, will definitely bring maybe some more support options because if you're, let's say, go from 5 seconds to 2 seconds of being completely unusable, uh, at least you'll be able to pump out some support once you're back.
Yeah, and that's really the big thing that I've already seen a little bit of it. I've seen some groups running support Vindicators. And I mean it's hard to gauge, but it's not bad. There's a lot of stuff that even I was looking at yesterday within the new stance, I guess, the new spirit,
Oh yeah,
which has a lot of boon support and a lot of healing. That yeah, I mean it has its own AoE stun breaks, which are being made even better. Awakening is getting a shorter cast time. And yeah, I mean there's a lot of support that can be pumped out via Alliance stance, I think it is.
yeah. I think it's Alliance stance, the one you can
And then
switch with.
within that,
Yeah,
yeah, you can switch between the two alliances for support or for, I guess, more boon or heal, kind of like the books in Firebrand, really,
yeah,
like book 2, book 3 equivalents. Are they going to be up to par with Firebrand? I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to be buffed and Firebrand's going to be nerfed, so maybe. I mean, with some other support to back it up, it could be doable in some groups. I'm not sure if we're going to see that or if it's going to be a backup to the heal brand.
yeah, yeah. We'll have to see once that's rolled out and people play with their comps a little bit.
And nothing else big on the rev. There was a little adjustment for Herald with the Draconic Echo to give quickness, which I
Oh
think
yeah,
is
that's right.
their, what is it, their F2 thing on top.
Yeah,
And beyond that, I mean, Thief got some slight adjustments on Spectre, not Scepter.
yeah, Spectre.
And that's another one I haven't really. I don't think I would locked it at all.
Yeah, I don't think I have that either. I think the only thief I have is maybe Core Thief and Daredevil. I use that whenever I'm commanding during the Halloween Labyrinth event. But besides that, yeah, I don't really touch Thief all too often. And yeah, looking at the patch notes, I don't see anything substantial that'll bring it into group play just yet. If that's the direction that ANET's trying to bring the Spectre.
Yeah, it is a weird kind of niche role, maybe with some support in a small group. I don't know if it's ever going to be to the point where you'd want it actually healing in a large group or say specifically healing the tag or something.
Yeah.
But it's not really a class that you can fit into every role necessarily.
Yeah, maybe with a new elite spec in the next expansion, or if there's huge changes for Thief coming up. But as of now, I don't know.
Myself, if I wanted to make Thief viable in groups, I would I would look at something like making short bow better. Like just make it do AoE damage better, and that could be something that might be viable. But support Thief is just gonna be tough. But yeah, not too much to say on Thief. The Scourge got a change that I think has been not everybody's noticed that it's even happening. So this change could be impactful, but in ways that people don't expect. Just because, and they kind of just glossed it over real quick, but the Trail of Anguish, the trail from the Scourge, is now getting a target cap.
Oh yeah.
And there is currently no target cap on it. and that is dangerous. Any skill that has no target cap can just be is super abused.
Yeah, you're getting chased, or you're pushing into melee using the Trail of Anguish for strips or corrupts instead of stun break. You know, results in a bunch of enemy strips. So
And if you guys aren't sure what I'm saying, what I mean as far as target cap, so normally a skill will have, a limit of how many players it affects. Normally it's 5 people. Whereas a skill with no target cap affects unlimited people. As long as it's there, it's going to affect whoever walks through it. So this trail currently in its state, a whole Zerg of 50 people could run through it, and they're all going to be impacted by it, which is really strong. So you have 5 Scourges dropping trail, and then you bait the enemy through that. That's really going to strip everything they got. Whereas now it's going to be brought down to an actual number of, they think, 10.
yeah, yeah. I think they mentioned that for now it's going to be 10. See how that goes.
So I don't know how it's being played on most groups. I mean, if they are using it actively to strip or to bait through, then some guilds are taking huge advantage of this and getting a lot of strips, and they're no longer going to get that.
Yeah. Some people may end up using or saving the Trail of Anguish for stun breaks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is it is a really boon rip heavy meta too. There's a lot of strips going on, so I think this is positive in bringing down some of those strips a bit.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There's a small change for the Condi Scourges 2. They're not going to get cripple from that punishment trait,
Oh
or
yeah, I
for
think it's
punishment
more
skills.
torment.
Right, so it's less types of Condi, so not as much
Cover
cover
Condi.
Condi, yeah. So, I don't know how many Condi Scourges there are out there, but this is going to make it just a bit harder for them to get the number of Condis that they have now.
Yeah.
Other than that, going down to Mesmer. And overall nerf, I think it's kind of mixed on Mesmer. They got a buff and they got a nerf. The distortion, I don't know. That might be more of a play for the smaller group. I don't think it's a huge impact in large group.
Yeah.
So they'll be getting the distortion back, and then longer cooldown on null fields. So that's another nerf to boon removal, along the lines with Scourge. So a little less boon rip from the Chronos.
And the Chronos do a lot of boon rip. You often see uh Chronos near the top or at the top of the boon rip charts.
Definitely, yeah. A good Chrono should be near the top, if not the top.
Yeah.
Although, honestly, a lot of times that's distorted because the chrono is the tag, and the tag is always the one in front getting there first. So,
Yeah, true.
so yeah, grain of salt there, but no, you can get huge strips on a chrono, and this will bring it down a little bit.
Yeah, and the buff to mantra of concentration is going to be nice to see too.
Yeah, that skill has been kind of ignored by a lot of people, I think, but having more stability available is kind of one of the overall themes of the patch. So
Yeah.
now the Mesmer has the mantra concentration that has more charges and more stability. So for the group, the Mesmer can now put out that stability on a pretty regular basis to kind of buffer where the Guardian can't do as much.
Yeah.
One of the theories I've heard is that the new support is going to be Healbrand, Tempest, Mesmer.
That would
And
make sense.
somebody was even saying, Scourge or Scrapper will be left by the wayside because of the buffs on the other ones. I don't think it's that extreme, but the Chrono, you only need one every other party. You don't need one per party because their invis covers 10 people, the mass invis. So you can get away with less, and the stability you can get from other sources too. So I don't think it's a full-on replacement, but
Yeah, and I don't think the Chronos do nearly as much damage as Scourge. I haven't seen at least most of the Chronos I see run full minstrels, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, they don't have that damage component at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting stuff on Mesmer. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, overall boon rip numbers should go down by theory. This should see less boon rip, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Let's see, Ellie. Yeah, we mentioned the Eye of the Storm, which is one of the Tempest shouts. It has been there, and I don't think it's been used that much. Well, Tempests aren't used that much in general. Let's be honest,
Yeah.
but yeah, more AOE stun break for the Tempest. I think it was an increase to the range on it.
I see a cooldown reduction.
Oh yeah, just a little cooldown reduction. That's
Yeah.
not.
Still good to see every 30 seconds. Pretty much the
Yeah,
same as
other.
Standard Ground.
Right, that'll put it right on par with Standard Ground. Yeah. Yeah, nothing else big on the Ellie and Guardian. That's where we see the important stuff.
Yeah, Guardian is the class that you want to have in every single subgroup, at least right now. Like I've mentioned earlier, the amount of stability and damage mitigation is unmatched. I mean, Tempest brings damage mitigation through like some form of protection and auras, but not the same way that Guardian brings it.
Right, right. It's a very different flavor. And I mean, nothing about this is gonna make Guardian's place or Firebrand's place less stable. They're still gonna be one in every party for sure. But
Yeah,
this just tones it down a bit, and it's really just the elite stab, the elite mantra, reducing it from 3 ammo counts to 2, and increasing the recharge time by 5 seconds. So, I mean, you have 2 instead of 3. You have to play it more intelligently. You can't just spam it,
yeah,
which I think is a good thing. More skillful play. The groups are going to have to think about their stability a little more and maybe spread out the responsibility beyond the Firebrand.
yeah. That makes sense. You're gonna have to be a lot more careful with your stun breaks and stability.
Yeah, and I've been leaning towards more of the thought process that should be left more as the stun break and less as the stability if there's 2 charges. Like you might not be able to even think about using baby stab preventively.
Oh yeah, definitely. You'll still have Aegis, so at least you'll be able to avoid pulls from that unless um they're really good with countering your Aegis.
Yeah, yeah, the reduction in stability may see more pulls. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Firebrand didn't really get any other nerfs besides that. That was the one thing. And then there was a little nerf on the traps for the Dragon Hunter. So the Dragon Hunter DPS will be brought down a bit. I mean, the Test of Faith, one of their main traps, is brought down. So just a bit less damage on the trappers, which I mean, Dragon Hunter traps are instant cast, big damage. So it's probably a good one to tone down a bit.
Yeah. And like Test of Faith is I think the one that applies cripple and deals damage. Oh yeah, cripple grants protection and deals damage. Um but with the way a lot of Dragon Hunters play, they opt out for Stand Your Ground instead of Test of Faith, which I think is a really good alternative to bring. Stand Your Ground, Procession of Blades, which is huge AoE damage on the ground, as well as the Sword of Justice, which is that 900 range spinning sword that you see thrown out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This might push people off of the triple trap, super squishy YOLO Dragon Hunter
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah, I always tell people that the reason I bring Stand Your Ground is because I can play more aggressive. And I usually have a way back to the commander as long as I have stand your ground and renewed focus up. Uh, yeah, but some people don't even play with stand your ground. They just play with the a bunch of traps and sometimes Sword of Justice and maybe even Dragon's Maw.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll still have their place in the meta. Dragon Hunters are still going to be needed there too. So nothing earth shattering. Incremental changes there.
Phew, good. Please don't hurt my main.
And let's see, a little quickness nerf as well on one of the Firebrand traits. I didn't mention that first one there. And yeah, beyond the Guardian, Ranger.
Oh yes, Ranger, the Druid.
Yes, a lot of people have wanted some of this stuff for a while, and it looks interesting. I am not a Ranger enjoyer, so I've had to kind of log in and check out some of the current form to see the changes better. But man, I ran in a Zerg the other day, and I had a Druid healer in my party, and I did not like it. It was about useless. So yeah, no,
um,
there's a huge problem that I didn't really understand until I messed with Druid, and now I understand why it's a terrible healer. The Celestial Avatar, the energy juice, you just don't get it. But now you're just going to passively get that astral energy passively all the time from one of your passive traits. So that's going to make it a much more viable healer to get into that Celestial Avatar healing form and then actually pump out the healings. Not really something you can do as much now because you don't have the healing energy.
oh yeah,
But
definitely. At least in World versus World, that's how it works. And what's it called? Uh, it would be nice to see more Druids in the future, like actually pumping out good heals. And there is the change to the Druid Elite, which is the glyph of the stars. Um, yeah, so that's going to be nice to see some variation. I know you could choose between having like an Immob Ranger or, you know, well, hopefully in the future, maybe a support Ranger in groups too. But then you'd have to sub out the um, Entangle, which is the elite skill for either Glyph of the Stars or, um, some people might run Spirit Res.
yeah, I think the Druid would still want to have some Immobes as some CC abilities to add more to the group instead of just being purely a healer.
Yeah,
Because I mean, I don't think they're going to outdo a Tempest. I just don't think they are. But I mean, they'll provide some niche things that maybe the Tempest doesn't, because they do have some more CC with the staff and with the elite and this and that.
yeah. The Druid
So
staff, the I think it's the staff 4 skill, has like a really long range of mob, which is nice.
yeah, and that's going to be kind of the thing to see is what builds people come up with the adjustments. And I mean, over the years, I've just seen people want to bring in a healed druid just like they play in PvE and go for this really big spike heal, and you just can't do that.
Yeah,
Like
they find out it just doesn't work.
it's much more, multiple small heals or healing over time versus just we get hit and you burst heal it. Like you don't really have time to do that.
Yeah,
So maybe this will bring it up. I mean, there's some added stability as well with that theme. No AoE stun break though. That's kind of the weak spot I'm seeing where, and I'm not thinking every group or every class should have it, but
yeah,
that is something the Tempest has. This does not. So you may have something, even the Warrior has it now. So it's something this doesn't have, so it can't replace the heal brand either, but maybe you could swap a Tempest out for it. We'll see.
yeah. Like if you could, it would be nice to see something like the command protect me. Um, give group stability. Like at least a few seconds would be nice.
The Soul Beast got a little bit of a change there with, well, the one people seem excited about, and I didn't really know why, is the pet change. I guess they're stuck with one pet once they merge now, and now they can swap pets and get a different one. I guess that's more options.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be nice to see. I think I rarely roam on Ranger, but one of the things I don't like is being locked to one pet when I'm in combat. Um, there are several gap closers with the pets, and it would be nice to switch between different gap closers. You know, if those are available, why not be able to switch between it like weapon swaps?
I mean, I always think Ranger needs a nerf in every situation. Just just delete them if you want to, ANET, if you're listening. No, I think Ranger is a little bit overtuned, but hopefully adding more pets to Soul Beast doesn't make them even more annoying. We'll see. And they did get a stability buff for Soul Beast where their stances are better, so they can stance share and share stability. So that's something that they can provide as a Soul Beast.
Oh yeah, if you bring in a Mob Soul Beast, group stability.
Are they going to earn a spot in group there? Well, we'll see. I mean, their build isn't going to change that much, but they could be a backup stability. So we may see that trend where every party of 5 is going to want to have their Firebrand, and then at least one other class that is a backup stability, whether it's a Mesmer, whether it's a Warrior, whether it's a Ranger. That's going to be a role that probably will have to be covered, and lieutenants and commanders will have to think about.
Yeah, like one of the things is when a firebrand's low on stability or if there's an extra guardian, they'll coordinate when they use their big stab, which is stand your ground. So you'll probably see something along the lines of that when a firebrand's running low on their stability and they, call out in Discord or something, and you know, one of the other either stun breakers or stability providers will be able to take care of that.
I'm thinking of back in the day when there were when there were actually 2 Firebrands per party, and then it was stab 1 and stab 2. It'll probably turn into that, except for the stab 2 is just going to be a non-Firebrand.
Yeah, maybe even a non-guardian.
Right. Yeah, so Ranger, hopefully you are more useful. I'm skeptical as always of the Druids, but proof is in the actual play, so we'll see if they're more worthwhile now.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see what people come up with. Definitely, we mentioned meta breaking. May that happen? We'll see in the future. October 4th is just around the corner, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean these balance patches always give groups and individuals inspiration to kind of try new things and new comps and stuff. So we'll see a little wacky stuff out there for a few weeks, and
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. Yeah,
Speaking of wacky stuff, Mechanist.
right.
um, Mechanist. I kind of have a love-hate thing for enemy Mechanists. Uh, I think I've mentioned how much I love dropping reflects whenever I see them.
Yeah,
Um, I think now if enemies see a new tag and see my tall Norn, they might say, just put the Mechanists away for a little bit because I'm gonna drop reflects. But yeah, Mechanist is one of those, um, I guess, one-shot builds that a lot of those YouTubers made builds for. I mean, yeah, they do have huge burst damage, but it could be easily countered with projectile blocks and reflects. And you drop one, and you almost immediately see two or three mechanists drop. Um,
hmm
yeah, and seeing the nerf in the mech damage That'll be nice to see. I think they're nerfing the ferocity.
Yeah, the ferocity and the aim assisted rocket. So
Yeah.
it's one of the mech skills itself. They were indicating it's more gonna nerf it in PvE. I don't know how much the mechs are staying alive in World vs. World to affect things, but hopefully it brings them down at least some. Because man, I can't. Just the way they'll just pew 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 on top of the walls, and you can't really hit them back because the stupid arch that shot
Oh
does.
my god, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a low skill. Press one button and just sit there kind of class, and there's nothing about that should be encouraged. They need to nerf it continually. So
It's crazy that I see so many mechanists running with zergs. I'm assuming some of those are pug zergs or maybe just roamer mechanists hanging around them. But yeah,
yeah, it's. I mean, I have to chalk it up to Steam and certain YouTubers who should not be named that are encouraging these builds. But yeah, no, I mean it's easy, and I understand people come in with what they're comfortable with, and they're getting into the game in general with a class that's easy and comfortable. But
yeah. Or some
man,
people
it's
come
about
in,
useless. Like,
yeah. Some people come in with just wanting to play something fun, but yeah, something that's just super easily countered and something that's just so hard to touch when, yeah, like you said, when they're over the wall and you can't hit them because of that arching shot.
yeah, so excited to see that nerf, and hopefully that'll encourage some of those engineers to try Scrapper or try a different class instead of staying on their PvE pew pew build all the time.
Would be nice to see some more hollows.
Hollow, yeah, Hollow Revival would be good. Hollow Smith is strong.
Yeah, I remember watching. I think it was one of Alaric's Hollowsmith videos. I don't know if I'm mixing it up with something else, but no, I think Alaric's was a power scrapper video. But yeah, I've seen a lot of footage of Hollowsmiths doing tons and tons of cleave damage, and yeah, they're it would be like nice to see a revival of that.
That's possible because damaged Scrapper is going to be hit really hard by that gyro change too.
Yeah,
And that's not really noticed as much because everybody's looking at heal Scrapper, but yeah, Shredder, Gyro, and all that are going to be, just area place, so they won't have that easy run up skill that they have now.
yeah, you can't run alongside or through a Zerg and cleave with it. You'll have to drop it on top.
So yeah, that's really all the changes. There wasn't anything for the other classes or specs per se that we didn't get into, and this isn't everything. This is just kind of the main points that we noticed that were more obviously going to affect World vs. World groups. And I'm pretty excited about it. I kind of want to see what the other groups come up with, and I've got some ideas on what we can do. And yeah, no, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
And
I'm pretty excited for it too. We're gonna see a lot more class diversity in the game. You know, we'll see where Rangers end up. Would be nice, like to have a few niche druids here and there, but what we really have to see how it is after the patch rolls out.
yeah, that's we met our goal of not being as long as the stream, so I think that's good.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, good stuff overall. I'm pretty excited, and the guys that are doing it, I mean, Cal and Roy are really into it. You can tell they're thinking about it and the consequences it might have. And in the stream, they were talking about, well, we'll see what happens, and if it doesn't work, we'll roll it back or scale it back. So it's not going to be the only patch. There's another patch in November that'll tweak this one. So yeah, it should be great, and I can't wait to see what people say in the comments and all the rage that ensues at different changes. But yeah, Salamander, any last thoughts on the changes here or anything else that we should go over?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's gonna be nice seeing some uh class diversity, what the alternatives are gonna be, if there's a huge nerf to the amount of cleanses and corrupts that we see from the current meta. Yeah, we'll have to see. But super excited to see where this leads.
Me too.
All right, and that is it for episode 2 of the State of the Mists Guild Wars 2 World vs. World podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let us know if you have any requests for future videos, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.